Hello, everyone, and welcome to Come to the Couch and Chat. My name is Alex Jackson, and this is really about how do we do life better together. This is about how do we have the conversations to uh, work together as a community to better ourselves, to do things that we haven't been taught before. Okay, so for the next 4 or 5 weeks, Come to the Couch and Chat will be about financial literacy. So, what we'll be discussing literally is how to build generational wealth. And specifically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be peeling back the curtains, kicking down that door, and looking at what the wealthy know, have been taught, that has been hidden from us, that has been gate kept from us, hidden within inside books that they teach us that we should know, but we don't know. Okay. So, my first question to those in the audience and online is who, like me, is frustrated sometimes or has ever been frustrated with the paycheck to paycheck life? Let me see some hands up in the chat. Let me see some hands up here. Do we see that? Yep. Okay. Who, like me, has also been tired of the 9 to 5 trap, being caught into that rat race? Yep. So if we're tired of those things, right? We often go to online, we go to financial experts, financial planners, X, Y, and Z to have advice for us to get out of this position, right? And oftentimes, what we see and what we hear and what we experience is financial advice that sounds a little something like I'm about to show you in the video right now.
Of 72 will change your life. Albert Einstein once said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it, earns it. He who doesn't, pays it. Albert Einstein nailed this on the head. So what the rule of 72 is it tells you how long it's going to take you for you to double your money with a specific return. So what that means is if you can receive a 10% return, which is the average of the stock market historically, you're going to divide that into 72. So your money will double every 7.2 years that you have it inside of that investment that returns you 10%. This is where compound interest starts to jump in. If you're able to save $100,000 in 7 years, it will be 200. In another 7 years, it will be 400. Another 7 years, it will be 800. But what this does to your money is mind-blowing. From the years 42 to 49, so your money has now doubled 6 times because of compound interest in this investment. You will make $12.8 million using compound interest. What this means for you, the dollar invested today is worth way more than a dollar invested tomorrow. Because when that money starts compounding, the first compound's all right, the second one's good, but then it gets to great and awesome because your money continues to double and make you more and more of it the further you get down that line. If you're looking for more advice on how to grow your net worth, follow me.
The advice that we hear, that we experience over time, it tells us to put our money into the stock market, let it compound year over year. So they'll tell us in year one, if you put $100,000 into the stock market and you'll have a 10% interest year over year, by the year 30, 35, you'll have anywhere between $6 to $7 million in your account, right? The thing about it is, you also hear people say, well, if you're in a financial rut, work harder. You need to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week to get out of that position, right? Who's heard that? Right? The thing about it is that you've heard it and you try, I'm quite sure you tried to implement these things. The thing is, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to keep getting what you're getting. You see, that program no longer works. That is antiquated. That was used in a time when you were paid a fair wage to earn. The times have changed. So at this time, we're in a little different market. And so if you want to get something different, we have to change behaviors. And to change behaviors, the first thing we have to do is change the thinking. And to change the thinking, we have to change the mindset. So all today, I promise we're going to get to the sweet, saucy stuff, potentially the real estate investments, where you can put your money to. We're going to get to all of that later on in the series. But today, we're going to tackle the mindset that the wealthy have, that they have learned, And we're also going to debunk and try to shift from what we have learned and what we've been taught, fed, and bred throughout all these years. Okay? So the good thing is there's only two mindsets when it comes to finance. Only two. That is scarcity and abundance. Now, the problem is we've been taught this whole thing, scarcity. We've been taught it, and we're constantly marketed that every single day. It's in all the media, it's in most of the finance books, it's in all of the so-called gurus and the financial planners and the experts, right? They teach this scarcity model. So what does this say? All this says is this. Because we have a limited amount of resources, resources being gold, being water, being anything of that sort. Because we have a limited amount of resources, we can only make a limited amount of money. There's only a limited amount of money that's available. And so under this model, what it says is this, is that because there's a limited amount of money to be made, I'm going to hoard up as much money as I can. I'm going to stack up the big bank account. That's what I say. I'm going to stack my bank account. You know, I got my money in my mind, my money. This is all in our music. This is everything that we see. So we're going to hoard up all this money in this one place. And then because there's only a limited amount, there's no more, I'm going to make sure I cut my expenses so I don't spend as much money so I can hold on to it. And I feel comforted knowing that I have a big bank account. You see, a lot of us has been taught you should feel good when you have a high net worth. It's the same reason why people say, oh, well, look at Donald Trump. He's a millionaire. Look at Elon Musk. They always go by this net worth number, right? You notice whenever somebody wants to see how well somebody's doing financially, they go to this net worth thing. They preach, they teach, and show you this and market this net worth number. Well, net worth is not the game. You see, here's what the wealthy understand and what they know. They understand abundance. The abundant mindset says this, that even though there's a limited amount of resources available, money exchanges hands an unlimited amount of time. Because money exchanges hands an unlimited amount of time, I know I can attract and get more money. I can get way more. I can get an unlimited, the amount of money that I can have is unlimited. I have to unlock how to make those unlimited exchanges flow to me. See, that's the difference. You see, the difference is under scarcity, it's based in fear, but scarcity also says I have to hustle to make money. I have to work to make money. See, I really want you to pay attention to this because this is powerful once you really understand it. Under the scarcity model, they taught us to exchange time for money. And because time is limited, we think money is limited. This is why we have bad business. This is why we have people stealing from each other. This is why we have business partners stealing from each other. This is why families steal from each other because they think money is limited because you have to exchange your time for money. And nobody wants to put in extra time to get extra money. Understand that. I'll let that sit there just for a second. This is the model that we've been fed, bred, and marketed to. Here's what the wealthy understand. If you change, I guarantee you, if you understand this principle, you will change your relationship with money, and money will then begin to flow to you. What the wealthy understand is this: money is not made. It's not made. You do not make money. You do not exchange hours for money, for dollars. Money is attracted. You see, I dislike when I hear the term Elon Musk makes $1,000 every second. No. He doesn't make $1,000 every second. He attracts $1,000 every second. And money is attracted by creating value. You see, the reason why Elon Musk is attracting all of this cash is because people love the things that he created. So he created a Tesla. People love the ideal. They value that. When somebody values what you have created, they are willing to part ways with their money in that exchange, and that exchange lands in your pocket. That's the key to generational wealth. So let's take a step back and go to the beginning. When we're talking about generational wealth, the foundation is we have to change our mindset. The first thing is the mindset of scarcity is what we've been taught, fed, and bred and marketed. We thought that because there's limited resources, there's limited money. We exchange dollars for hours. What the wealthy understand is that even though resources are limited, money exchanges hands an unlimited amount of time. And I can have an unlimited amount of money by creating something that people value, and money is attracted. Big difference. Now, I'm going to go in even further to show you how we've been fed, bred, and marketed this scarcity mindset. Like, I can almost guarantee you've heard this model and this framework from generations for how you should live your life. So the scarcity model, based off of fear, based off of trading dollars for money, says this. In chat, please tell me if I'm wrong, if you've never heard this, or if you've ever heard this. We've been taught, go to school, get a job, save your money, pay off your debt, invest into the stock market, and get interest. Have we not heard that? That's what we've been sold. That is the framework that we've been sold. And they want to keep you in this framework because quite frankly, and I'm just deviating a little bit. This is, weeks in the future, but one of the core reasons why they want to keep you in this bucket is because you become a W-2 worker. The highest classes of individuals that get taxed is the W-2 worker. There's not much tax exclusions that you have at your disposal. You see, there are two great robbers of wealth. The greatest robber of wealth is one, the scarcity model. The number two greatest robber of wealth is taxes. That's a discussion for a different day. Just a little bonus there. But what the wealthy understand, preach, teach to their loved ones is this. We want to invest into education, develop a high-paying skill or develop high-paying skills, create value, invest into cash flowing assets, and grow those assets to cover our expenses. That right there, this path, write this down, remember it. This is the path to your economic independence, your economic freedom. This is the path for you starting generational wealth and creating generational wealth. Invest in your education, develop your high-paying skills, create value, buy cash flowing assets, and make sure develop those assets to cover all your expenses. You see, we often hear that this phrase, I want residual income, I want residual income, I want residual income. Oftentimes, we don't even know what residual income is. This is that. Residual incomes is you purchasing or investing into cash flowing assets to cover your basic needs and wants in your life. All right, so let's take a side by side. Let's dive into this. Take a side by side look at each step as to what they've taught us versus what the wealthy understand. Okay. So first of all, I believe that education is the most important thing, but it's targeted. You see, what the wealthy understand, what we've been taught under the scarce mindset is to go to school and get a degree. Oftentimes, when we go to school to get a degree, we don't know what we want to do at that point in time. So we wind up getting in debt, getting a degree that we oftentimes never use. What the wealthy understand is this, is we want to invest in education, but we do it a little bit differently. We invest into what we know, like, and we pay for the understanding. That's the first part. But the second part is that when you get an education, it's not just going to school. Education could mean going to trade schools, going to trade shows, going to conferences, paying for a mentorship. At the end of the day, education is not just a school forum. Education is going out there and investing into obtaining the knowledge, but also the relationships. You see, you go to college not for the degree, but you go to college to get your network together. That's what college really is about. And the wealthy understand this. We invest into the education, but we also must invest into a mentor. You see, when you have a money problem, your money problems are rarely a money problem. You see, there are one of three problems. They're either a mindset, a relationship, or an idea problem. You're only one idea, one relationship, or one mindset shift away from your financial or economic independence. It's not the degree. It's investing into what you like, know, and then you pay for the understanding. All right. Second thing, please understand this because this will unlock so much for you. And I know it may seem simple, but I guarantee you, if you really understand this principle, it's a game changer. So we've been taught to get a job to pay our bills. So once we got a degree, get a job, pay the bills. What the wealthy teach is to get paid to develop the theory that you learned. And this step is a sprint, not a marathon. When you're getting paid to develop that skill that you learned, it's between 1 to 3 years. We're not making a career of staying in the job because remember what I told you. This model that we've been taught was to make the W-2 factory type worker. Where generational wealth and economic independence comes in, it comes in when you move from that W-2 life work, exchanging dollars for hours, and move into value creation. Okay, so once we get paid to learn that high paying skill, right? We get paid to learn it and develop it. So I'll give you an example. I have a friend who is in the restaurant industry. Parents paid for them to get the investment into the education. And after they've gotten the education, they will then go all across the state of Florida to different restaurants in the food industry. They will work there for, again, 1 to 3 years. This stage is a 1 to 3 year sprint. So they'll work in the restaurants, work in the industries from the bottom to the top, working from busboy, busgirl, all the way to the highest managerial position. Learning the tricks and the trades of what the competition is doing. After that point, their parents call them back. You have to now work for the company. And you bring all that knowledge in and you're getting and got paid for learning. But not only that, while you're getting paid to learn these skills, you're also getting paid to develop connections and make networks. You see, what they understand is this. They understand that on the job, I am building connections with people who work up and downstream in the industry that I want to be in. So say, for example, if you know, and you pay for the understanding to do coding, right? What I would suggest doing is getting into a field to a company that has all the codes, that has all the computers, that has all the software, that has all the access that you need to learn that skill very, very well. Also, meet the individuals top to bottom string that has a big impact on the field. That way, when you're ready to leave, now you have strong relationships, you have strong business connections, and you have the tacit skill. And all the time you got paid to develop the skill that you paid to learn in the first step. That is a crucial difference from what we've been taught. We're not going to work a job to pay the bills. We're getting paid to develop a skill in the short term to then create value. So the next thing is we've been taught we must save money. Once you start making money on the job, we must save money, right? And the vehicle or the chassis that is for saving money is this thing called compound interest. Now, you're going to hear this, and because we're getting financial literacy, I want you don't smack them, but just look at them kind of funny because they're going to often say to you, Albert Einstein said that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Those who understand it earn it. Those who don't get it. Listen here. Don't you listen to these funky behind people. They're lying. First of all, Albert Einstein never said compound interest was the eighth wonder of the world. What he said was compound numbers are a wonder. What happened was there was a banking conference, I think in Switzerland or somewhere in the world, in that part of the world. During that time, they were having a banking conference, and then they heard Albert Einstein, somebody heard Albert Einstein speak, and they said, "Oh, we want to build the banking industry, so we'll steal that quote. We'll attach that he said compound interest on there, and it'll make he's a really smart guy, so it'll make it seem like it's great. And that's a way for you to separate you from your money. Compound interest is not your friend. I want you to understand this. Compound interest takes 30 years to work. It doesn't work well in 5 years. It doesn't work well in 10 years. It takes 30 years to work. And what we're teaching in generational wealth and how to become economic independent is we're teaching that you need to enjoy, you must enjoy life along the way. Life is meant to be enjoyed along the way. You should not be putting your money in an instrument that takes 30 years to mature. You see, while this is not a bad instrument, we have to understand the time in which to implement this. And now I'm going a little bit ahead. The time to implement compound interest is not in the beginning when you're getting out of the 9 to 5 race. The time to implement compound interest is to expand generational wealth. After you become economically independent, you then put money into compound interest to grow yourself and to grow your family's wealth year over year in different instruments and different tools, not the stock market. Stock market is good if you want to, but there's other tools, there's other more efficient tools that we can use out there. Okay, so again, I'm not saying it's a bad tool. It's a bad tool when used in the wrong place. Okay, what the wealthy understand is this: is that we want to create value. We understand value creation because creating value accelerates your wealth. So here's the thing. Here's why I say we want to move away from trading dollars for hours. It's because of this. You can work a job and earn money and earn a living, and you'll be just fine. You can work. So let me take a step back. What I want to say is this: invest into yourself more than you invest into a business or somebody else's dreams. Okay. And the reason why you invest in yourself versus somebody else's dream or vision is because when you work for somebody else, you can earn a living, and that's fine. If you invest in yourself, you can earn a fortune. You see, when you invest in yourself, you can earn more because you can be more. If you work for somebody else's business, you're always capped at what they think you are going to be. So at the end of the day, invest into yourself more than you invest into somebody else's business. So value creation is a way for you to accelerate growth. And I know I'm hearing you saying, Alex, what is value creation? What is value creation? Value creation is simply nothing more than solving someone else's problems. So if you're really serious about becoming economically independent, right? This would be my suggestion. Each day as you go out into the world, look at things that could be done more efficiently. Look at things that you wish that you would want better, right? And then look to solve somebody else's problem. That is essentially how every problem is solved. Look at how we have streaming services, right? Look at how we have the Teams meeting calls, virtual offices. That came out of a need from the COVID vaccine, right? So at the end of the day, once we start looking at problems that are out there, looking to solve problems, we can then move to accelerating our wealth because what are we doing? We're attracting money to us. Remember, money is not made, money is attracted. You attract money by creating something that somebody else values. If they value it, they will then depart with their hard earned money at the end of the day. And so, another key aspect of this whole saving piece is that saving, number one, is built on the compound interest chassis, but also it's based and rooted in this thing called net worth. Okay? Understand this. When you create value, that is a cash flow mindset. Saving money is a net worth mindset at how it has been, how it was pitched. Now, we're going to learn in the budgeting series that savings is absolutely necessary before we do any kind of investing. So I'm not saying do not save at all. Saving is absolutely critical, but the way in which we save has to be done correctly, right? Saving with the compound interest, saving, putting $100 in the account and then keep putting in the stock market, not so good. So net worth says this, is that I am looking to see my bank account grow really big. I'm looking to see my pension 401k. I'm looking to see all these accounts. It's a nice big number inside of those accounts, right? Now we have to understand net worth is nothing more than stored potential. So I'll give you this example. Say, for example, I work a job, I make $70,000 a year, but I inherited a property that's worth $1 million. On paper, my net worth is $1.5 million. whatever, minus whatever expenses I have going on. But on paper, I'm a millionaire, right? But that is nothing but stored potential because you're not doing anything with the farmland. You're not raising cattle. You're not selling produce X, Y, and Z. If you were doing those things, that will then move you to the cash flow field where now you're creating value. You're creating food that people want, people value. They're departing with their money, right? And then you're attracting money to yourself by the usage of the land. Net or just having that is nothing but store potential, and that's what the focus of this whole saving thing is. Save money into your account, let it grow big, let it build compound interest year over year, and in 30 years you'll have a nice return. You'll have the millions. You'll have the millions 30 years from now. We're not focused on that. We're focused on cash flowing and how we can generate attract money to us without having to get rid of it, because cash flow net worth is literally like a boulder, right? So store potential. So think of a boulder on top of the hill. Once you release the boulder, all that energy goes down. It makes a destruction path in a way, but it's a one-time use. Once it's done, it's done. Cash flow is like it's like a hydraulic dam, right? So you build it, you have the water flowing over time. You constantly get energy over and over and over again. That's where we want to be in the cash flow. Last two steps, they say after you save your money, pay your debts off. I want to say this, not in all cases, but this model, paying off your debt, in a lot of cases, actually slows down wealth. What we've been taught is once we created value, what the wealthy know is once you create value and people are paying you for your value, we then want to continue to buy other cash flowing assets. The importance of cash flow assets is that the cash flowing assets will allow you to live your same life, go to the same clubs, hopefully like golf clubs, not like the clubs. Hopefully we've gotten past that stage in life, but go to the same go to the same clubs, go to the same places, take the same trips, live the same lives without you having to do any extra work. You see, understand this point here. When you buy cash flowing assets, and the assets cash flow for you without doing any extra things, then that is when you can swing for the fences. That's when you can change career paths. That's when you can start looking at diversification, all that other stuff. But before then, we're very focused on creating values. We're very focused on investing into a high paying skill, developing that skill, creating value from that skill, and then buying other cash flowing assets from that. This right here, understanding this difference, is literally the key to the game. This is how we move from paycheck to paycheck to economic independence. Now, you may say, well, okay, that's a good path, but how do we move? How do I change my mindset from scarce to the abundant mindset? There's four things we must do, and we kind of discussed on them earlier, but let's go into a little detail here. So the first thing you want to do when we talk about moving from scarcity to abundance is, again, focus on creating value, solving somebody else's problems, attracting money to yourself. That is the key versus living a frugal lifestyle. You see, there's books like that called like The Millionaire Next Door. And you see what they'll teach you is that, oh, it's where's with the badge of honor? Be a millionaire who looks poor. Excuse me? What? No. Remember, life is meant to be enjoyed along the way. So if your purpose or if your goal to keep you going is driving a Chiron Bugatti, well, by God, get a Chiron Bugatti, show it off. Because guess what? As long as you make it where you have a system in place, where your cash flow, where your cash flow and assets brings in enough cash to cover your expenses, by all means, go for it. If you like Burton bags, boo boo, do you? Do not follow this broke millionaire status, because at the end of the day, it is not about looking poor. It's not about acting poor. It's about understanding the game. The keys to the game is investing into the education. After that, get paid to learn it. After you get paid to learn it, then create value from it. After you've created value, then buy cash flowing assets. After you bought cash flowing assets, diversify. That is the key to the game. And you can look good while you do it too. That's the first thing. The second thing I want you to understand is this this mindset of produce in the present versus defer life to the future or retirement. So we've been fed, bred, and taught work 30 years, put your money into 401k, pension plan, ETFs, mutual fund, hedge funds, X, Y, and Z, right? And then someday, one day, someday, maybe you'll have a big enough net worth, and then you can live off of the interest in there. Well, here's the thing: the model is broken, and the reason why the model is the reason I can tell you that is because 95% of the people who are retirement age are still working. They can't retire, and the reason why the system is broken is because it's tied to something that was never supposed to, it never was supposed to be, and never it was never meant to happen. So do not defer your life to the end, because deferring your life to the end typically means working with the retirement accounts, and typically means that you're working with a crackhead or a heroin addict. I'm sorry, I don't do business with a heroin addict. Oh, and you say, who are heroin addicts and crackheads? Heroin addicts and crackheads are the banks and the government. Have you seen all these banks that are failing? They're like, oh, Fed, can I have some more of that money? Or how about the government not being able to pay not being able to pay the bills, and they're also then printing more money, which dilutes our money. So I don't get in bed with heroin or crack addicts. So I do not defer life to the future. I prefer to produce in the present, creating value, creating something that somebody else likes, and then attracting money. So understanding that principle will help you to get to an abundant mindset. The third thing that I'm going to really dig deep on right now, well, before I get there, I'm going to go to cash flow and net worth, and then I'll dig into this one because this one is very important. The fourth one is understanding cash flow versus net worth. So I want to just describe that a little bit in a little bit more details. So cash flow, sorry, net worth is the muscle. It's a big muscle, right? So you have a 401k, you have your pension account, you have your bank account, you have your house that you live in, and put all those together minus all of your expenses, and then your net worth says you are $2.5 million, right? Yeah, it's good. The problem comes in here is that life be life. Life happens, and when life happens, say for example, somebody may get laid off, the economy goes down. In more unfortunate instances, you may have a loss of limb, a loss of partner, X, Y, and Z. So life happens, right? And when life happens, oftentimes people's cash flow, under the model that we've been taught, the cash flow is this: I work a job, and that's how the money cycles in, right? Well, the problem with net worth is this: in the event that job is lost, that income is lost. And so, because you have a big muscle, you have to spend off of that, right? So, you have a big muscle, but you have bad blood circulation. Cash flow is the bloodline. Cash flow is what circulates to the muscle. You see, if you have an instance where you lose the income, you have to spend off your net worth to cover your life expenses. So it's not a net worth gain, because at the end of the day, you can only liquidate so much. Once you liquidate the house, liquidate the 401k, X, Y, and Z, if you have nothing coming in, you're in dead water. Focus on cash flow, creating value to make cash flow. Now you have money coming in from your assets that you created, right, to cover all of your expenses. So now, God forbid anything happens, you're good to go. And let me just go a little bit deeper when I talk about cash flow and cash flow from assets. So cash flow from assets is not just real estate. See, a lot of times, often people think about real estate as the only thing that we can do for residual income. What that looks like is this. What cash flow looks like is this: having a business structured correctly. It's also looking at IP, intellectual property. That's another avenue which we can look at. You know what? I'm actually going to give you game on this third step, which is the velocity of money. So cash flow is really important, and it feeds into the velocity of money. So to understand how to move from scarcity to abundance, we want to talk about the velocity of money. So I know we've all, gone to school and we've seen equations. Don't freak out. I'm going to explain it to you very simply what this equation means. All right. So all velocity of money says is this: the velocity of money that comes to me depends on how much output I can have versus the input that it takes to make that output. Okay. So it looks a little something like this. Say for example, I bake cakes. I have a sweet tooth, y'all. I love me a good pineapple upside down cake, a Jamaican rum cake, red velvet cake, key lime pie. Oh, sorry. Anyways, what I want to say is that this, if I bake cakes, right? If I have a bakery, right, I can charge $50 for one cake. Well, let me tell you something, man. My grandma, she makes this most amazing vegan cake. Let me tell you, it tastes like a regular cake. Anywho, so if I have one cake, right, I can make $50 for that cake. Cool. It took me 2 hours to make that cake. I can then scale up and say, well, instead of me, making that one cake for 2 hours and making $50, I can teach a class, an in-person class, where in 2 hours I can teach 10 people how to make the cake hands-on. And so now I've moved from $50 to $500, if my math is correct. Yeah, my math is correct. My math is mathing today, so I'm good. But we can then, so as you see, so with this equation, my output increases as my input stays the same. You want your input to stay the same or to go down. Okay, you want this to be smaller so you can increase the velocity of money that comes to you. So then we can take it a step further. And if anybody bakes, I hope somebody takes this idea, because I don't have the time to do it. But ideally, what you could do is, if you baked, what I would do is I would go back to this. I want to create value, right? So, and I want to solve somebody's problems. Oftentimes, if you look at retirement homes, right, they're often looking for things to do. So if I were an entrepreneur, if I knew how to bake, what I would do is I would reach out to almost every single old home that's out in my area, and there's a lot of them, and I will offer my services. I will come to your building to teach how to do a bakery class, a simple baking class, or cooking, or doing anything with food. I will offer that service. And so now you've taken that same 2 hours, but now you spread it across multiple individuals. I then take that a step further. I then say, I then open up an online community where I'm in a virtual kitchen, and I will have a special ingredient that says, you know what, I have a special cake. Nobody's ever seen this. If you join my class, you can have access to it. Now, in the same 2 hours, in the comfort of my own home, now I can reach individuals worldwide. What have I done? I have increased exponentially the velocity of money that comes by my way by increasing my output, by keeping my input the same or making it less. So instead of me cooking cakes for 20 people at 2 hours a piece to make $50, what I've done now is I've said, I'm going to solve somebody's problems. I'm going to now do the same 2 hours of work, but touch more people. That's the power of the velocity of money. And that's how you attract money to yourself. And that's how the wealthy get wealthy. Not trading dollars for hours. We're past that phase. But you can do the same principle in almost any industry that you want to. If I was sewing, if I was doing clothes, I can do this. I can do the same principle there. So you want to touch more individuals while doing the least amount of work. But you have to create something that people value. And in order for you to create something that people value, you need to invest into the education to get that. So these are the principles that the wealthy intuitively learn. Now, I know you may say, Alex, these sound so great. It sounds so wonderful. And I'll do this once I have money. I want to caution you and end on this one mindset. So the mindset that we've been taught, fed, and bred is the have, do, be mindset. It says this. It says that once I have money, then I can do what you say, and then I can be economically free. Said another way, it's like this. It's to say, I want to be a super fit person. I want to have the six-pack abs. I want to have the quadriceps. I want to have the bulging biceps, right? But if I'm extremely out of shape, I would say, well, I first have to be, a little healthy, and then I can go to the gym. And then once I go to the gym and when I'm healthy, then I can be super fit. Do you see the problem with that? See, the problem is when you have that have to be mindset, you'll never get going. What I encourage is to change to the be, do, have mindset. So to the be, do, have mindset says this: I'm going to study what it takes to become financially free, which we just covered it, and then I'm going to do. Now, don't get it twisted. You don't have to do everything all at once. Do what you can. Do it in small portions. Think about a person who's 300 pounds trying to go to 185. They can't. They may not be able to do a whole pull up, but they do what they can. Do what they can over time. They do it the habits. After they do it over time, then they will have it because they built the habit and they better themselves over time. So we have to move from the have do be mindset to the be do have. But understand this: the key to generational wealth is changing your mindset to number one, from scarcity to abundance. Remember, money is not made. We don't trade dollars for hours. Money is attracted to us. It's only attracted to us when we create value or solve somebody else's problems. Remember, money exchanges hands an unlimited amount of time. So the amount of money that you can attract is unlimited, all depending upon the amount of value you create. To create the value, we first have to get the education. After we get the education, we have to get paid to develop that education. After we pay for it, create the value, solve somebody's problems. After we solve somebody's problems, we buy cash flowing assets, and then we diversify in those cash flowing assets. So that's the main topic for tonight. Topics to come, we're going to talk about budgeting sucks. So how the wealthy manages finances. So it's a little bit, it's actually a little different than how we have been taught to do our budgeting. After that, we're going to talk about using their money first. So we're going to talk about understanding credit and leverage. That's important because that really plays into the topic of do as they do, not as they say. This, we're going to talk about the infinite banking concept, or literally, how do you become your own bank? So we're going to talk about the process of doing that. And then part two of do as they do, not as they say, is the tools that we have to use to make that happen and come to pass. So that's been the first part. I'm going to open up the floor for a conversation on all these topics that we just discussed. That could be a video. Any questions or anything that somebody wants to discuss? Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, so oftentimes what we've often had it backwards. So we've often been told we should go to school and get a degree without any aim, right? Because it was a safe path, not realizing that when we're talking about getting an education, it's about getting an education into what you like, what you know, and then you pay for the understanding. So at the end of the day, it's not about how do I, get a degree so I can get this job. It's about how do I develop my natural talents. Yes, correct, correct. And then the second part is even more important, to get paid to develop that that skill, but also to make the connections. I can't tell you how important it is to talk to and make good relationships with individuals who are in the actual field. So say for example, if I love real estate when I was since being a kid, right? And I invested into real estate school, invested in going to the conferences and talking to the individuals, you know, to really get a key in there. The next important thing is I have to know the team that I need to build to be successful in real estate. And the thing is that when we're investing, when we're getting paid to learn, so do real estate mortgage broker or whatever, real estate agent, I'm getting paid to make connections with accountants, tax specialists, people who actually know the real estate industry inside and out from top to bottom. So individuals who's not even in real estate, but who's tangential to real estate in the banking, right? Getting good connections with those individuals, because a key that is in this getting paid to develop the skill is this: when you're new into something, oftentimes people don't want to work with you because you're new. But if you're getting paid to develop your skills and you get with say for, and you build a strong team of individuals who are well respected in the industry, just because you're new, you're still getting business because they know you're connected with people who have the highest standards in the industry. So getting paid to develop that skill, developing your skill is not just the tacit skill, but it's also your network, because your network is not net, it's tied to your net worth, but your network feeds into your cash flow. So remember, it's not a net worth game; it's a cash flow game. But yes, anything else? Anything in the comments? Oh,
I said all degrees don't make money. That's why people don't use them all. I when I was let's say a teenager starting out my first job, I was a maintenance person at a moving company, and I never forget the Jewish guy, the owner, Shelly Levine. He came and said, "Ray, you can't make no money cleaning up this company. He's sweeping my floors." And he told you how to make. He said, "Get out there and drive a truck," because truck drivers made it by percentage. So he knew how to make money. So he gave me a little hint, and he said, since he owned the company, he said, "Go out there and move the trucks around, and drive the trucks, and I help you get your license." And so that's how I started driving a truck and making a little bit of money.
absolutely. And you notice that degrees don't necessarily equate to what people value in the workforce, in the workplace, right? So that's why it's important to invest into what you like, know, and understand, and create value based off of that so you can attract money so then you can do what you want to do. So, say, for example, archaeology. There's no money really in archaeology, right? But if you have some other skill and if you have cash flowing assets, right, it allows you to pursue your dream and in whatever you want to do in archaeology at the highest expense, because that's truly a part of wealth. You see, a lot of times we get so focused on the richest component or the money component, right? We forget about all the other parts and components of wealth. So we want generational wealth. So that's why I say we want to focus on building these cash flowing assets. So then we can focus on health, we can focus on relationships, we can focus on legacy. We can have wealth in all of those areas. But in order to do that, we have to invest into a high paying skill, developing that skill so we can solve somebody's problems to buy the assets, to cash flow from it. So then we can get a degree in, liberal arts or whatever, and just fulfill that need in our life.
Can I piggyback off of that?
Can you go over the velocity equals output input again? Because to my understanding, the input is the work you put in. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the output is what comes out of that work, which equals the velocity, which is
Sure. So
yeah.
what this says is the velocity of money that comes your way. So how fast money hits you, how money is attracted to you, is dependent upon how much output you're able to get. So how much people you're able to reach, how much people are attaining value from whatever you're doing in relation to the amount of input that you're doing to get it. Okay. So and another way to look at it is like this: if I was a roofer, right, and I got paid by the roof or by the house by the roof, right, and say for example I have a hammer, right. Well, my input to that will be hammering the roof. That'll take me, a super long time. I can only get one out. If I get a nail gun, right, now the amount of work that I'm putting in is less, right? Therefore, I can touch more roofs and more money moves to me. Or, better example, if I were to if I was in the food industry, if I had a food restaurant, right, and I had one location that was open 8 hours, right, and the output that I get is the way that I can track is based off of that output. But if I had extended the hour, or if I serve better food, more people comes to me, I get more out of it without putting much more in. So it's really about how do I put the same amount of effort in or less effort in and get more out of it? How do I touch more people? How do I reach more individuals to attract money? That's the key to the game. Yes. Okay. Somebody wants to read that.
Okay, in the comments it says to piggyback off of that, not all degrees make money. In the day and age we live in now, past remedial jobs can find value because not everyone was taught on home maintenance or sewing skills. Social media opens that cash flow to teach others. That's true.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, because and it's honestly it's funny because we see what we're seeing now, what we're experiencing now is that because you know the the up and coming generation is so technologically dependent, they depend on like technology, they're not learning the basic skills as far as home maintenance, X, Y, and Z. So we're seeing a resurgence in basic labor. So plumbers, X, Y, and Z. I mean, I saw a very funny bit on South Park where this guy he was trying to change a nut on the oven, right? And he was charging like $300 just to change one nut, and he was like, "Well, because nobody knew how to do it," and then he was like, he was talking down to his son, saying, "Hey, son, this guy is very poor. He's doing this very manual labor. I'm going to show you how to do it." But at the end of the day, they were making way more money because they had a simple skill that nobody that had. But again, it all comes down to value. If 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 individuals don't have a specific skill set and you have it and it's very scarce, you have value. You can create more. Any more questions, comments, concerns? Okay.
To Kiki with that velocity thing, it's your return on a quick pay, as your pastor say, like you get a week check or 2 weeks or a month. On my thing was I would go out maybe 10 days and make $2,000 or $3,000, but my return on the pay would be like 3 days because he wanted me to go back out. And then it depends on the contract that you had. I could make either more or less when I went back out, and then I come back, it'd be like a 3 day return on my pay. I wouldn't have to wait no week or 2 weeks because they wanted me to go right back out so he could make some money and I could make money too.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's key. At the end of the day, we want to really focus on how we can get that cash flow turning to us. And that's a very key concept. So I do want to say we're going to make this. This is going to be available on Liberate Ministries website. You can see this material here. The entire series is going to be here. There's also going to be some supplemental material as well, really going into detail on going into deeper detail on some of these things, right? So when it talks about creating value, like I really in the supplemental material, we'll discuss, uh, producers versus consumers. So pretty much, how do I do that? We'll give a step-by-step detail on how to create. We'll also go through this this framework called the creation cycle, right? So the creation cycle is pretty much teaches you how do you create value without the mindset of it takes money to make money. You see, a lot of us are stuck. We have these great ideas, but we don't do them because we think that we don't have the money, so we can't do them. That's no longer a limit to us, right? So we'll discuss that in the supplemental materials as well. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week at 7 o'clock.